All right, everyone. Steve Metrics here of Db8 Sports, and he just found a stand, but that's your boy.
TJ Triggs.
And together we are Db8 Sports. We are here on Super Bowl Sunday. How about that, Triggs?
That's scary. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I am totally ready for this, man. Like it is pretty cool. Lots of energy. I already got a parlay placed from earlier in the week. Gonna do some underdog stuff later today. I'm ready to go, man.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of just like I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like sportsed out, but man, I'm exhausted. I know it's Super Bowl week, but geez, trade deadline. The WNBA did a bunch of stuff. We got like the 3-on-3 things going on, and then I'm like, oh man, it is Super Bowl. Like, what is happening? And I know we don't talk about professional wrestling very often, but the Royal Rumble just happened. That's the road to WrestleMania. Like the whole week was nuts. The Pro Bowl happened.
Oh yeah, I didn't pay attention to that. I don't count that as much anything. But yeah, I mean, like the NBA, the WNBA stuff. Like that's some really cool stuff that happened earlier this week, especially the trades in the NBA. I'm a little bummed out about our Bucks trade though.
What? No way.
Kyle Kuzma.
So okay. So I can understand that. Hold on, I'm just gonna plug this laptop in so then I can do research at the same time.
Okay.
But yeah, so like looking at Kyle Kuzma in that trade, right? The only thing I'm really bummed about now, I didn't think I would be as sentimental about Middleton as I am, but like I've always wanted Middleton traded. That I was that guy for a while, and but then it was like, dang, Middleton got traded. Like it was more fun to complain about it than to like actually see it happen.
Exactly.
But getting Kyle Kuzma, he's what is he, like 5 years younger, something like that. And not only that, he was a 20-point scorer, on a bad team. I get it. But guess what? On that bad team, he was either 1 or 1B with Jordan Poole. So, like, defenses were literally setting up. And, no matter how bad you think the Wizards are and, this, that, and the other, defenses were still setting up for Kyle Kuzma. Well, guess what? Now he's 3, maybe 4.
Sure.
Matters on where you put Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, and guys like that.
Right.
And it's like, plus he's longer, he's athletic. Middleton was not going to run down the court on a fast break. He was usually the pass guy out of the fast break. So now you get Giannis running down the court full speed. You got Dame falling behind with Brook Lopez to set up for threes.
Yep.
And then you have Kyle Kuzma coming down the court. Remember, he's 6'9". Like, I think he's 26 years old. Like,
oh dang, okay.
He's not a small dude. So now you have Brook Lopez at 7 feet, Giannis at 7 feet, Kyle Kuzma at nearly 7 feet on the wing. Then you have Ajax, Andre Jackson, who's he's kind of their stopper guy, which I actually think they should move him to the bench, which is going to sound weird. I think Taurean Prince, because he's been on fire from the 3-point line, him and AJ Green. So now you put Taurean Prince or AJ Green at the 2 position, where Taurean Prince can give you a little bit of defense and he can shoot the 3. And now you have Dame at the 1. Where is there a spot where you're going to stop a guy?
Right. No, that's that's legit. I didn't think that. Now the Bucks have some size, some speed. The speed was never really a factor, to be honest.
No.
So now you bring that in with Kuzma, and definitely some of these younger guys on the Bucks are actually starting to develop. That's solid, man.
And now the best. It's going to sound really messed up, but we basically traded Beauchamp we basically traded nothing, which was Beauchamp,
You did.
for Kevin Porter Jr. Now, yeah, Kevin Porter Jr.'s got a bit of a, crazy background and, all of that, which again, I understand.
Wait, is this the
But
guy that got busted for gambling on hoops?
no,
Oh,
he like had a domestic thing with his girlfriend, if I'm not
oh,
mistaken.
oh, okay.
Um, and I'm pretty sure he was cleared. That's why he was because he missed a whole season. He was on
Yeah.
the Clippers putting up like 9 or 10 a game. But if you remember back a couple years ago with Houston, the dude put up like 50 on the Bucks. So
Whoa.
like he is a fire starter. Now
Okay.
Beauchamp literally wasn't playing. So
No, he never
like
did anything.
it was free, right?
Yeah.
And so now you got another 10-point scorer who can handle the ball a little bit. He's not going to pass. Like he's literally like, here's the ball. I'm going to go try to score on the second
Okay.
team with Bobby Portis, who's the exact same thing.
Sure.
He's not trying to pass at all. Like
No.
you've got more and more scoring. Plus, you have your shooting with AJ Green and Torian Prince, and you have Jackson who's out there playing defense. And then on top of that, we ended up getting under the cap or under that the second apron. So
Sure.
we're not strapped on tax money and all that stuff, and you can
Good.
get in the weeds of that later,
Yeah.
which is how we were able to make the move. Remember, if you're on the or past that second apron, you can only trade 1-for-1, and you can't take back
Oh,
more salary, obviously. And so
right.
what ends up happening is we got Patrick Baldwin Jr., I want to say, and
Okay.
moved him to the Spurs for a roster space. And then
Sure.
on top of that, we ended up getting a move where we got Jericho Sims, who's an athletic big. I think he's like 6'10, 6'11. And he's a defensive runner, slasher. Like, so what do we need? We needed an athletic big behind Brooke Lopez, or as some like me have thought, maybe you move Brooke Lopez to the bench. Giannis plays a lot more five. Now you can set up Kuzma, Torian Prince, Jackson, even a Bobby Portis and a Dame, and now it's a whole different team. That's a whole different lineup. And
Yeah.
even on top of that, like Middleton, man, as much as Middleton did for us, I put him to the sky for his um his points against Atlanta when Giannis got hurt and he was putting up 40 pieces. And well, he's just a shell of himself now. Like
Yeah.
hopefully he gets bought out, but the Wizards haven't really said anything because he's going to be an expiring contract. He's obviously going to accept his player option. So
Sure.
like they have a big contract to move and make some probably bring in some younger talent with him next year, or they buy him out and he hopefully doesn't go to Boston, but maybe he goes to like a Golden State or an Oklahoma City. Like you can always use another mid-range scorer, right?
Man, crossing your fingers and hoping someone doesn't go to Boston. That's like crossing your fingers and hoping that they don't join the Chiefs.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, literally, that's a thing,
Because we traded Drew Holiday and like they got a free starting point guard out of it. So like,
right?
oh, just I just hope that doesn't happen this time. But yeah, those little moves that the Bucks did were like I think added up to a bigger part. Like we got three guys who can actually play in the rotation
Yep.
for Chris Middleton.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's pretty legit how you lay that out. I mean, I never thought about it that way. I never thought about Kyle Kuzma for the speed plus the size. Plus, I would guess that with his age, that he's probably a lot more available, a lot healthier than Chris Middleton. All that
Yep.
stuff absolutely adds up when you work your way through the season. And plus, that stuff has come back to bite the Bucks hard in the playoffs. I mean, especially this last postseason with very little Giannis, a little bit banged up Dame, and Chris Middleton carrying that weight. It'd be nice to see how we look actually when we have our guys going into it and not putting all that weight on a Chris Middleton. I mean, it's just not going to work. And now you got to bank that he makes it there too. I think you'd rather move off a guy too early than too late.
Than too late, and that's the big one right there. Too early than too late. And like I said, like these guys they're young, they're I'm actually trying to find Kyle Kuzma's exact age, but
Yeah.
Jericho Sims is 26.
Okay.
Kyle Kuzma is, I want to say 26 as well, but for some reason, why? I guess oh no, he's 29. Sorry. He's a couple years younger than Middleton. And then Kevin Porter is like 24, I want to say.
Sure. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, he's 24. So like you got 3 guys under 30 for DeLon Wright, who wasn't playing, Marshawn Beauchamp, who wasn't playing, AJ Johnson, the rookie, who wasn't playing, and Chris Middleton.
Interesting. Wow. That's pretty wild, man.
I know. And that's not even the craziest thing that happened. Like the internet almost broke. I woke up and I was so confused because I was up pretty late that day, and later than I normally am. And then like I saw something and I was like, oh, XYZ Luca, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then I woke up and I saw a Shams tweet that said, "This is not fake" or something, and I was like, what? Like, this is real?
I know. I was at work in the middle of the night and I saw that thing drop, and I'm like, this sounds a little fishy. Let's let a little more time go by to see if this is like legit. But sure enough, it was, man. I do have a tinfoil hat theory for the postseason about this trade.
Yeah.
And I think it positions LeBron in a win-win scenario. Already with the Lakers, I mean, they're basically 4th to 5th in the West. I think bringing in Luka to play alongside LeBron James is totally legit, totally smart. I also think, too, what's going to happen is I think LeBron will move off the Lakers after this season. He's already made his money in California. He's killing it with his production company. He's really made it so his net worth skyrockets from that move to California, which he did. Now I think he's in a position that his goal, similar to Tom Brady, who is now working for Fox, co-owner, minority owner of my Las Vegas Raiders. I think LeBron is trying to put himself in a position to build as much capital as he can so he can position himself to be a greater minority owner of the future expansion team that he wants to own, which more than likely is that expansion team that's going to debut in Las Vegas. I think what he has to do now is, and he's going to be probably playing for, I would think, at least the next 5 years. And the way he's always in shape, the way he takes care of his body in the offseason, the way he monitors how many games he has to play, I think he needs to play on a team that basically has no state income tax for games played at home. So we've definitely broken this down in the NFL, especially the AFC South. But what team out there has pieces that he's familiar playing with, a team that's a pretty good franchise, and a team that has that no state income tax? Well, I find it very ironic that Anthony Davis got dealt to Dallas and Kyrie Irving is in Dallas. I could see LeBron finding a way to join Dallas after this season, should things just not work out and you just come up a little bit short with the Lakers. I could see that really happening.
Ooh, that's okay. That's a real tinfoil hat.
It is.
I'm not completely against that. But so I had a guy at work. He's like the biggest LeBron fan of all time. Like, literally, he comes up to me the next day and goes, "So 7 rings?" And I go, 7? What? How is he going to get to 7? And like, I was like, "Oh, you're trying to compare him to Jordan? Okay, I get it, but he's still got to like get a couple more He's almost got to double his load.
Right.
And then he stopped. He goes, okay. What do you actually think about the trade? And I go, in the next 2 or 3 years, Dallas is going to win this trade. And he goes, well, what do you mean? Like, Dallas, this, and this. I go, so at the time, Kyrie and Luka made it to the finals, right? Great.
Right.
Amazing. But you had 2 ball-dominant players. Then you brought in Klay Thompson, and Klay Thompson kind of has to sit there and wait in the corner for these 2 guys to dribble, and then pass him the ball. Okay? So
Right.
I'm like, all right. Now I look at the trade. So they got Doncic, Max Kleber, and Markieff Morris. Well, Kleber and Morris, they might get minutes, but I don't. They're just throw-ins to make the salary work. The
Right.
Lakers had to send away Max Christie and Anthony Davis. Now, mind you, most people are like, oh, Max Christie, who cares about that guy, right? Well,
Right.
he's the son of Doug Christie, if you remember back in the day with the Kings.
Okay.
So he's averaging about, like 10 points a game, a couple rebounds, a couple assists. He plays like 20, let me look it up here, 25 minutes a game for the Lakers. So guess what? He was an actual rotational piece on the Lakers.
Sure.
Now look at this game here. Davis, and I don't expect this to happen every game, but it could. They always talked about how Davis was like, one of the best players in the world, top 10, this and this, but he was always sitting behind LeBron and kind of waiting. This first game against Houston, mind you, Houston's one of the best teams in the West. They're 12 games over 500, so they're no easy win anymore. Anthony Davis had 26 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 blocks.
That's a pretty darn stat line.
Right.
That's a really good night.
And on a day where Kyrie Irving shot 4 for 15 and Klay Thompson was 6 for 14. So you're talking
they got
30%
Thompson too. That's
Yeah. So you're talking 30% between the 2 of them. Well, guess what? Max Christie comes off the bench, plays 33 minutes, puts up 23 points. And that was the throw-in guy.
Yeesh. Wow.
Now, again, I don't expect him to put up 23 every night, but he's a 10-point per game scorer. And now he can put up 20 by shooting threes. He hit 9 free throws. So he's not just a sit in the corner, wait, shoot a 3 kind of guy.
Totally.
Well, when does he take a PJ Washington spot who only played 16 minutes? When does he take more minutes from Klay Thompson who only played 22 minutes? And Anthony Davis only played 30. This team is stacked now. Like,
interesting.
They went out and got Spencer Dinwiddie, and they revamped Dante Exum, who was like a top 10 pick back in the day. I want to say for like Utah, from Australia. Like, I know I'm going super depth with Dallas, but like, I think Dallas actually made out better with this deal in the next 2 or 3 years because Davis will be early 30s at that point, mid 30s.
Yeah.
And Doncic will probably be by himself because, like you said, either LeBron's going to get fed up, 2 high usage players. Well, LeBron's going to be like, dude, this guy is literally like the ball hog. What is going on here?
They're both point guards too.
Basically, yeah. And either LeBron's going to get fed up or LeBron's going to retire. Whichever one happens first is that 2 or 3 years from now, tops.
Yeah.
Dallas is still going to be playing, and they have Kyrie, they have Klay, they have Anthony Davis. Well, guess what? Now you can move a Kyrie, you can move a Klay, you can move a Gafford or a PJ Washington. They've got. Oh, by the way, they beat the Rockets by 11. So
that's pretty impressive, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, and plus too, I wonder if that's like pretty much the only way they could figure out a way to get both Anthony Davis and possibly a future LeBron on a team together is you have to trade one of them earlier than the other and then hope that the other can step out of that contract and get over there. And I would think LeBron has an easier time doing that than Anthony Davis. So you trade Davis and then you join him in the following season.
Yeah, and that's kind of the gist of it. Is like who made out? Well, okay, one team made out now, but who makes out in 2-3 years? Yeah, Luka might be still one of the best players on the planet, but is it just going to be Dallas all over again? Probably.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, I definitely feel that the Dallas Mavericks were in a position to move off of him. You could tell from many instances, even before that trade deadline, that they were bucking heads before this, whether it was with GM hirings or with just the way that the team was being operated and telling Doncic to do certain things. You could tell that like they were definitely at different ends and they had to move on. So I know you're basically betting against Doncic, but the thing is too, the guy plays zero defense at all. And your better teams today, the better end teams, those players do both. I mean, people can say what they want about Jason Tatum, but he plays pretty good offense and he plays very solid defense. That's just one component you need to really build that team to be able to win a championship.
Right. And that's the fun right there is like, okay, well, what are we looking at now? What is the next big thing? What's the next domino to fall? And yeah, I don't know. The Jimmy Butler thing doesn't really like tickle my fancy too much. But I don't know. I'm kind of just like I was like, "Woo, so much stuff is happening. This is exciting, you know?"
Yeah, and just kind of glimpsing at the West right now, the way things are. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be maybe a free fall out of the Clippers after the trades they made. I could see Sacramento taking a step back for sure. I mean, they lose De'Aaron Fox. It's not that far away that San Antonio is behind, and so San Antonio is literally only 3 games back of Sacramento. In that mix too, you have Phoenix and Golden State. So it's very possible that of that clump of like 6 teams, possibly 2 that are in that top 10 maybe move out, and then Golden State and San Antonio move in and take a spot.
Right. And I don't know how I feel about De'Aaron Fox now. Because like these first couple games over here with San Antonio, he's kind of not doing anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a different system. It's a different setup. Getting used to Wembanyama, that might take a little bit. But I think too, just the fact that San Antonio can attract and start bringing in guys, that's a big thing, man. I mean, I kind of feel like San Antonio is like the Washington Commanders or like the Jaden Daniels of the NBA. Like at some point, players will flock to Victor Wembanyama. They may not have the same impact on their previous teams, but man, I think we're getting real close to San Antonio being one of those teams that's just going to be absolutely dominant when they pair Wembanyama with like 2 other like bona fide players.
I agree. But I actually think even in that trade, I kind of like how Sacramento looks too.
Okay.
Like Zach LaVine and
Oh yeah,
I almost said Debo, but DeRozan are like best friends. Like they were really good friends in Chicago. You're talking about 2 bona fide scorers, and they have Sabonis, who's an all-star like level center.
Yes.
Now you add in another point guard at some point. I mean, they're a playoff team or play-in team right now.
They are.
And they got Jay Crowder and Dougie McBuckets and like Keegan Murray. They look really nice. Maybe bringing a point guard through the draft or, a buyout market guy.
So
Who
now
knows?
both LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are in Sacramento?
Yeah, LaVine got traded for Fox.
Wow.
He was in the 3-teamer.
Right. Man, that is pretty wild. If they got those guys, like, yeah, that's a solid team, man.
Yeah. Now, all right. Is it okay if we shift gears? Because I'm so amped about this.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the WNBA has been going nuts. Like,
sure.
What is happening? So we talked about last season when no one else was wanting to talk about the WNBA until Caitlin Clark like blew up because everyone hated her at first. Dude, they went out and got bigs like, and we kept talking about that. Like, yeah, they had the players that like Aaliyah Boston, the former #1 pick,
but she's not big enough.
Man, they went out and got Dewana Bonner. Like,
boom.
And I know Dewana Bonner's a little old, but guess what? Now she can teach Aaliyah Boston a little bit how to bang in the paint. Dude, she's an 80+% free throw shooter. She averaged 15 and 6 last season. Like
sure.
on a team that was like in the semifinals. Like she was one of those. She's a vet, 14 years in the league. They went out and got it. And then they also got another forward. They got Natasha Howard, right? Sure. Natasha Howard, 17 and 7 last season. Like, I'm like, whoa, okay, we are doing some moves here. And and then real quick, one of my goats of the WNBA, Tina Charles is still playing. She put up 15 and 10 last season. She signed with the Connecticut Sun. We got Alyssa Thomas, who is in the big trade, where the Phoenix Mercury, Indiana Fever, the Dallas Wings, and the Sun made a 4-team trade, just sending people all willy-nilly.
All over the place.
I mean, Phoenix, I know they lost Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner went to the Atlanta Dream, but like, Phoenix literally set themselves up where you're like, whoa, okay. You weren't really like a big factor last year because we were kind of just waiting for Diana Taurasi to retire.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure what Brittany Griner was going to do. And they still made the playoffs, but like, you really didn't think they were going to do anything. But they went out in this trade and they got Alyssa Thomas, who's an 11 and 8. And then the big catch to me, they got Setu Sabali, who was a #2 overall pick for Dallas. She's an 18 and 6 player. Like, and Setu Sabali is like one of my undercover favorites because like her game is pretty ridiculous. I'm trying to think of like an NBA comp, but like think of a stat sheet stuffer, like maybe a 27 and 7 kind of player.
Okay. Wow.
She averaged 18, 6, and 5. So like she's gonna get you a block, she's gonna get you a steal. Like you're kind of getting a stud. Like I think she's only mid-20s probably in that area.
Sure.
And then Indiana got Sophia Cunningham, which she's a shooter, but now this is the big one. I didn't think this person was like touchable, for lack of a better way to put it. But Dejanay Carrington, who's a defender and a scorer, ends up going to Dallas to play with our homie Arike Agubawale.
Yep.
That's Milwaukee zone.
Yeah.
So now she's got another player to kind of like side up with her. And Arike is going to put up 30s all day, every day. And they got Nelita Smith, who's another top 2 draftee from Indiana a couple years ago when Indiana literally had like a top 4 pick for like 5 years in a row. So they got 2 studs. But, I mean, WNBA, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and even on top of that, too, you had Kelsey Plum get dealt to Seattle. And in return for blanking on her first name, but her last name is Gray. Absolute stud.
Chelsea Gray,
exactly. Yeah, so bringing in Chelsea Gray in return, I know it's a little bit of a money thing going on there, but solid moves going on. And I mean, I still like the Las Vegas Aces quite a bit.
No, it was Jewel Lloyd. It was Jewel Lloyd.
My bad.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah. Like, the big part of that trade that like most people aren't really gonna talk too much about, Seattle not only got a player in that, but they also got the #2 pick in the draft. So there's some top-notch talent at the top of that. But yeah, the Aces got another 20-point score. Oh, the rich get richer. Like, I mean, now Kelsey Plum's like, since Sue Bird has left the WNBA, Kelsey Plum's one of my favorite players, but she's going to LA Sparks, and like she's I'm trying to think of a nice word. She's a dog. Like,
she's
goes
got
out there.
Steph Curry kind of hustle about her.
Yeah, I would even go a little further than that. Maybe like an Anthony Edwards. Like she
Yes,
wants to
yes,
guard your best player, and she's gonna just pester them all day. And now
yes. I
she's the
love that.
number one. You know,
Yep, yep. Yeah,
and
yeah. No, that's solid.
and they got Odyssey Sims over there. Obviously, Cameron Brink's over there. Like
Yep.
Rakia Jackson from Tennessee's over there. Like LA might surprise some people. Like obviously they were the worst team in the league last year, and that's how Seattle ends up getting that number 2 pick. But
Right.
I think it's a pretty nice move. You're bringing in an all-star talent.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you got some real solid moves going on there in the WNBA, and to be honest, to me, they were almost making a little more news than the NBA itself when those trades were going down, because they were
Yeah,
going down a little bit before the NBA started making their trades, and then out of left field, you see the Doncic trade, and you question if it's legit or not. So yeah, it's a pretty cool movement going on there.
right. And like when I started seeing these trades, I'm like, ooh, this is what I want to talk about. Let's go.
Absolutely.
And not only would Brittany Griner go into Atlanta, so did Brianna Jones,
Okay.
3-time All-Star.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of feel like Atlanta is going to start to build themselves back. I know that that's pretty much been one of the lesser franchise of the WNBA.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. I mean, I saw a documentary in the off season of their vice president and how she retired from the W and then became basically a co-owner of the team. I think they have just really good leadership, really good ownership there, and I think now they're beginning to acquire the actual roster they need to be one of those better teams out there in the WNBA. And I think Atlanta is a cool city. It's kind of centralized in a way. But I've personally, in recent years, I've kind of been shocked that Atlanta has not been one of those better teams. But I think that is going to start to change pretty much right now. I mean, you bring in a big like Brittany Griner and give her some scoring assistance as well. I think that's going to do it.
Right. I agree. I mean, she's a dominant force. I mean, she's gonna be
Totally.
a Hall of Famer at whatever time she's done playing, but like
Yeah.
she's going over there, and I mean they got Ryan Howard, they got Alicia Gray, they got, like I said, Tina Charles is over there now. Like
Sure.
they got some players. Like
Yeah, they
I
do.
think they're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. They're looking pretty solid there. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this stuff happens. We'll definitely have the WNBA draft coming up in a few months here. So that'll be really fun to watch too. But yeah, pretty cool stuff going on with the W and
Right.
the NBA.
Man, I'm telling you, like I'm not putting it out there. I mean, I might sneak it in a little bit. Indiana could make it to the finals. Like
Interesting. And not only that, just saying, I mean, I know I called it out. They fired the coach. That coach they had
did.
last season was garbage, like hot garbage. So yeah, I think you move on from her, put someone else in there, start moving that team in the right direction, especially too with the players they've acquired. And for the coach to sign off on those players they acquired last year, I thought it was garbage. I like the direction that the new regime is going in. I think you're onto something. The Indiana's gonna be definitely a top 4 team by season's end for sure.
Right. I mean, bringing in Dewana Bonner and like Natasha Howard and like things like that. And they
Yeah.
re-signed Kelsey Mitchell too, by the way.
Okay.
Like they have a legit starting 5. No offense to Katie Lou Samuelson, who can shoot the 3 pretty well out of UConn, but like she was kind of a weak link. Just
Okay.
saying. Like
Yeah.
she was starting every game, played 20 minutes and got like 4 points a game. Like not trying to be that guy, but you know, when you got Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell out there, like put a Dewana Bonner out there for 20 minutes and let's see what happens.
Interesting. Yeah. Something like that could definitely happen. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I like the direction the Fever are going in now. They're starting to bring in some size and a new coach. Yeah, new attitude, new vibe. I think even last year with how they did, and they even last year with the things that we saw that wasn't quite right, that's still a team that made the playoffs
Yeah.
and was solid. And I know too in the Olympics the team won gold and whatnot, but man, I was against it. But looking at it back then and seeing what kind of build it would have, or what kind of ratings it would have brought in. I think I was actually wrong last year by saying Caitlin Clark shouldn't have been on that team. I think if they had brought Caitlin Clark on that team, they still would have won gold. And plus, getting all that ratings in there, maybe even bringing Angel Reese, I still think that team would have been totally dominant.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Indiana bringing back 2 19-point scores with Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark. Like,
it's money.
They're gonna be nice. I know they got rid of a little bit of their depth in the trades and the moves and this and that, but yeah, as long as you got Clark, Mitchell, and Boston, I think you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're looking pretty good there. So I like that. I'd say it's pretty solid. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I think they're looking pretty good.
So I don't know if you've heard, but there's like a football game or something going on today.
Man, there is a big time football game today. Like I said, I got my parlay in motion from earlier last week. But the bummer of that is that like you have to hit on everything. So it's a little bit tough. But that said, I am, as we speak, beginning to build my crazy parlay on Underdog Fantasy, which is cool because you don't have to hit on everything on that. The only downside is like you can't really pick a team that you think is going to win the Super Bowl. You can't pick the point totals. That's the only difference with like gambling on players and gambling on teams in the state that we reside in. That's part of those gambling laws behind the scenes. But still, like I actually do enjoy Underdog for the fact that you can build these player props and you can build them in a way too that you don't have to necessarily hit on all of them. So I find that to be pretty enjoyable.
Huh. Yeah, it does sound kind of cool. I'm just in the air for it. I'm like, are there any player props that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, there are. I mean, I would say like, so I'm starting to work my way to the running backs of the Chiefs, and it is kind of interesting. I mean, I think the thing that I've been hearing about is that you're basically going to see how does Vic Fangio's defense and how does that zone shell, how does that compete against the way Kansas City is going to have to dink and doink their way down the field? So what I think that's going to open up is I think that's going to start to open up their tight ends. That's going to open up Travis Kelce. That's going to open up Noah Gray. The Chiefs are a team that actually runs more 12 personnel or more on their tight ends more than any other NFL team this season. So whenever you can find production out of Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, I think you got to go for it. The other thing too, and I know this is a little bit of a weird stat because, to be honest, the teams that Vic Fangio was play calling for didn't really have that personnel. To be honest, these were kind of bad teams in the heat of the moment back when. But since Patrick Mahomes has been in the league and has gone head-to-head against Vic Fangio defenses, Patrick Mahomes is 8-0 against Vic Fangio. Like, straight up 8-0. However, if we break this down, 6 of those wins are when Fangio was the head coach of the Denver Broncos. We know that didn't go so hot, wasn't the greatest team out there, and Denver's definitely been kind of on a rough patch until Sean Payton arrives. However, the other loss was obviously last year in that ice-cold bowl game in Kansas City with Miami Dolphins. I know everyone raved about the Dolphins defense, the Dolphins offense. And even going into the season, there was talk that, oh man, Fangio, Jalen Ramsey, all these other guys, it's going to be a really great defense. They were one of the worst defenses last season, man. Like, Miami gave up points left and right. It wasn't a shocker to me that Kansas City rolled through them that game. And then I think there was probably one loss when Fangio was probably a DC of the Chicago Bears. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at that and I'm saying, those 8 losses, those aren't really the greatest personnel that's out there. But now that you got Vic Fangio with the Eagles And that roster, man, is loaded. And I'll tell you what, man, like I've bet against this team a couple times recently, whether it's week 18 or the kind of the run in the playoffs. Man, I keep watching the Eagles, man, and I really regret it because watching their frontline play, especially that Jalen Carter, man, like if you can bet that guy for like plus like over a half a sack, I think he's going to do it, man. I think this is a team that defensive front is pretty scary on Philly. And I think at some point that team is going to figure out how to defend against the tight ends of the Kansas City Chiefs. And outside of that, if their run game is doing what it's doing against that offensive line or with the offensive line of the Eagles, man, I really think Philadelphia is going to have a good day today.
Wow. I think you're leaning a certain way there. It sounds
I am, man. I'm just saying, I mean, I've been burned on Philly. I've bet with Kansas City. It kind of went the way I thought against the Texans. I've seen them kind of do some stuff against Buffalo, but my gut keeps telling me, man, that had Kansas City played Baltimore, I don't think it would have gone well. And to me, Philadelphia is basically the Baltimore Ravens of the NFC.
Wow.
They are.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
I don't really have much in this one except like the game is pretty even. I mean, obviously the spread is like -1, I think, for the Chiefs, maybe.
So basically the game's a pick 'em. I mean, you might as well just bet the money line.
The money line's -115. The over-under is 48.5. I mean, these teams combined are only giving up 40 points, so you might want to bang the under. But then again,
like, I will challenge you on that. That's debate. That's debate.
I'm with you. Wait, hold on. I was gonna say. Then again, on offense, Philly's putting up 35 a game. Kansas City's putting up 28 a game, so they're probably gonna go over. Like, I think Kansas City's gonna lean hard on trying to stop Saquon, but easier said than done.
That is, dude. I've been saying that all. How many weeks do we come on to the show, and I'm like, boy, if you can just stop Saquon Barkley, I think this team folds like a house of cards. And I've been wrong every single time.
Right, and the craziest part about that is literally everyone in America knows he's getting the ball, and it's just, well, can you stop me? He's number 1 in carries, number 1 in yards. Now, mind you, okay, there were a couple teams in the NFL that stopped him. Can we go back to the Pittsburgh game? 19 carries for 65 yards. Oh.
Okay.
Let's go back to the Cleveland game. 18 carries for 47 yards. Like, maybe the AFC knows something, and those coaches are used to this grinding out, banging kind of thing with running backs.
Sure.
Does Kansas City have something up their sleeve to slow them down? I'm sure they're going to watch that film because every other team basically got smoked. I mean, Dallas, they were beating them 34-6, so he wasn't going to run that much. Tampa Bay, he only ran the ball 10 times, but they also got beat by 17. Like, there's certain things. There's been a couple games this season where Saquon's been stopped. Right. Averaging less than 4 yards a carry. Does Kansas City know something? I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. It's possible.
It is.
But now the problem, Philadelphia is only throwing and getting, they're averaging 138 yards a game in the playoffs. That is horrible passing the ball.
It is.
Now, mind you, they are throwing or running the ball at 237, which is on top, or 227, which is actually second to the Baltimore Ravens. But the Ravens were still getting about 70 more passing yards than Philly. Yeah. So do they make it? Do they stack the box and get Jalen Hurts to throw the ball? Maybe. I actually have no idea. Like, I'm just kind of here.
It's kind of interesting how they're going to do it. I have heard something about the safety of the Kansas City Chiefs, how he's kind of more aggressive and willing to find his way into the gaps and hit those downhill running backs. And that may have to play a part today. If he does make those big plays, I mean, that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on in the Chiefs secondary, to see if he actually runs up and hits Saquon Barkley as close to the line of scrimmage as he can. Because man, I got that vivid image of Saquon against Washington, and it's like one of the first few plays of the game, and he hits that gap that's outside past the tackle, and boom, there's that safety that's like a good like 10 yards away from the line of scrimmage, trying to come down diagonally and get to Saquon Barkley, and Saquon just makes one juke and he's gone. Like that's the kind of stuff that isn't going to work. If you are so far behind the 8 ball and then he shows up to make a play on you, I think Saquon's just gone. So I think that's the way it's got to be dealt with if there's a chance to deal with Saquon Barkley.
And Kansas City was a top 10 rush defense in the NFL, so they know how to do these types of things. They were top 4 in points per game on defense. They're actually kind of like an unstoppable defense. They're really good on defense. But so is Philly. Philly's really good on defense. But Patrick Mahomes is not looking to outscore people by a bunch. He's been really conservative this year and susceptible to interceptions. He's got more interceptions than Jalen Hurts does, but he also has 1,000 more passing yards and 200 more attempts. So, like, Kareem Hunt's been doing his thing. I'm kind of just like, it's pretty even. Like, one team can't throw, but they can run. One team can throw, but their run is kind of like iffy sometimes. What Travis Kelce do we get? What Taylor Swift do we get? I don't know. What Kendrick Lamar do we get? No idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I know people are gung ho about it, but I did hear the Kendrick Lamar song that's with SZA on the radio. It's kind of just saying. Yeah, it is what it is. Give me Kendrick Lamar in the BCS championship game back when it was Clemson and Trevor Lawrence against, I don't know, whoever, maybe it was an Alabama team out there. To me, that was one of the greatest halftime shows I've ever seen. Like, that was crazy stuff he did back then. We'll see how it goes today, though.
And I mean, ESPN, I'm just checking their tracker. They got 56% analytics for Philly to win, 44% for Kansas City to win. So, again, still kind of a pick 'em.
It is.
You can get tickets as low as $2,000 if anyone cares.
That's actually not too bad. 2,000 for New Orleans. That's actually pretty good.
It's level 600, but you're
still there. You still get the food and everything.
That's true. I mean, if you want to be on the field, it's 5,000, which actually, no, it's 3,000 in the end zone, which I would not have guessed. 2,800 to be on the 100 level behind the Chiefs touchdown.
That's excellent. That's actually a really good bang for the buck.
Right. 2,700. Oh, it's a little cheaper to be in the Eagles end zone. Just saying. I don't know if they know something.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that is interesting. I'll tell you what, though. So I got some of my parlay built here, and here's what I got. I got Saquon Barkley. I need 1 touchdown. It's a 0.67 multiplier on underdog. I think he's going to get it between that line. Also, today is Saquon's birthday, and also it's the game of his life that he can stick to Joe Sheen. Like, I'm telling you, man, this guy is finding the end zone. I like that a lot. I thought this was really bizarre. Patrick Mahomes, basically 2 passing touchdowns. It's a 0.8 multiplier. I'm going the higher on that.
Okay.
I think this team absolutely needs Mahomes to make his plays throwing the ball somehow, some way, whether it's to the tight ends or the running backs. I think that's what's going to do it. Do they count those little juke little passes behind the line of scrimmage as a pass, even though we all know they're a running play, they do count those as passes. So it's kind of bizarre, but I like that there. What's another thing I'm seeing? Travis Kelce. I thought this was really an oddball kind of a bet. I was looking at the first quarter receptions. I was like, all right, that's the thing. Literally right under it, first half receptions, 2.5. I need 3 Travis Kelce receptions in the first half.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
totally
say
in it.
I'm gonna say he's gonna have at least 90 yards and maybe 8 receptions in this game.
Exactly. I think him and Noah Gray are going to have a day. I haven't found Noah Gray yet, but I will look for him, and he's definitely another guy I want to go with. Dallas Goedert's a guy, too, that I think is going to have to make some things happen. I think if Saquon's doing his thing, that's one thing. But if they also got to work that middle of the field, and to be honest, Jalen Hurts has kind of been working that in the second half of the season. I think on their side of the ball, too, I think Dallas Goedert's got to have a day. Maybe even a Jahan Dotson here and there. I got this on my real parlay, not here on Underdog yet, but Jahan Dotson, 2.5 yards. I had to take that, man. That's essentially one catch. But what I did do on Dallas Goedert, I did actually go with the first quarter receptions of a half. So I need 1 reception out of Dallas Goedert in the first quarter.
Okay.
So I got that
I'm not
there.
against that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I do get a weird feeling with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. I'm not exactly how sure that's going to hit, but I mean, I think the thing that I feel going into this game that I felt differently from last year is I know Steve Spagnuolo. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator. I think he's probably the best defensive coordinator in the league. But I don't know, man. I just feel like that defense isn't as tight knit and as just locked down as it was last season. So for those reasons, that's definitely why I'm feeling like Philly's offense is going to get its thing going. And man, those linemen on Philly's offensive line between Jordan Mailata, the new center that's taken over for Jason Kelce, and their right tackle, who I believe they traded for from the New York Jets. And those guys are just monsters. And that's why Saquon Barkley has those opening gaps that he has to make those rushing plays and have just those crazy amount of rushing yards. And I'm saying that's a really tough order for a defense like Kansas City to deal with.
Huh. Yeah, I'm okay with most of that. Yeah. Like the only one that I'm kind of iffy about, and it's gonna sound insane,
right?
Is Saquon Barkley touchdowns.
I know.
Because you know if they get close, they always tush push. So
yes, and they're gonna tighten up a little bit. So it's like if that's the case, do we want to possibly scratch the Saquon touchdown and go more on the yards? And it's going to sound a little crazy, but man, there's like two different there's like 2 different plays to play this. There's kind of 3. So like his total rushing yards 115. That's a crazy number, but it is Saquon Barkley and that offensive line. There is the rushing attempts, which is around 20-ish. There's his longest rush of like 24 yards rushing. I kind of like this one. Would he have the longest rush of the game? Basically, it's a yes or a no. I think I might go with that one. The yes is a 0.7x. I think that might be the best one to go with, actually.
That's pretty solid. Yeah, I could see that. Now, I mean, I don't want to change your bets or anything, but
yeah,
like I'm a little afraid of the Saquon Barkley stuff, but longest run, I could definitely see that one.
Yeah, I think that's actually a sneaky one too. That's one that you can't really see at first glance. So I think that's a smart, sneaky one that they got in there. I like that. I do see like some of these running backs for the Chiefs actually having some like legit receiving yards. And I'm actually kind of looking at this. Receiving yards for Samaje Perine, 8.5, receptions 1.5, receiving yards first quarter half a yard. Gosh, I mean, I do think that the Actually, this to me sounds like a gimme. First half receptions, just a half. He basically needs one reception in the first half. I think that
Wow.
absolutely happens.
Yeah, that's solid. That is very solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those I definitely think those Kansas City running backs are gonna have some success receiving the football. Catching the football, I mean rushing it, I don't know, but definitely receiving the football. I definitely think there's going to be some action on those Kansas City running backs. And to me, the best receiving running back of them all is definitely Samaje Perine.
Solid.
I literally just found him. The guy we were talking about, Noah Gray.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff going on here. Yeah, so his receptions, 1.5 for the game. I think that might be the one we go with. You got 12.5 receiving yards higher. You have the rush plus receiving touchdown of him at 3.76 multiplier. That is spicy. That is really, really spicy there. But I mean, if we want to just play the receptions there, whoa, something moved. But yeah, I think he's a guy who's definitely going to have some production today alongside Travis Kelce.
Nice. So I just popped up something here that I just thought was kind of fun.
Yeah.
What are the most popular bets on the Super Bowl? So, all right, let's go through this one and you give me a yes or a no on it. Patrick Mahomes plus 25 rushing yards is minus 171.
Yeah, that's and especially too against that shell high coverage of Angio. I like it. I definitely like the rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes. That I like.
Yeah, he had 43 in a playoff game already, so it's kind of
Yes.
cool.
Yep.
So I think he's averaging like 20 some yards or something like that. So he's pretty close to that. Harrison Buckner, 2+ field goals is 140.
2+ field goals.
He's 10 of
Yeah.
11 in the Super Bowl.
Right, right. But you basically just need those field goals attempted.
Yep.
Yeah. Gosh, I like it. I don't know if I want to play with a kicker. But I think
It's a
Harrison
solid
Butker,
one.
yeah, so what? That's literally 2 field goals by Butker.
Yeah, and
Um,
like I said, in four Super Bowls, he's hit 10.
oh, hot dog, man. Dude, it's popping up as 1.5 field goal made. I basically need 2 plus the multiplier is 0.75x. So you pretty much know that he's going to hit it.
Okay.
Yeah, for those odds to be like that, like you know something is going on there. So I like that, man. That's pretty cool.
So
Yeah.
this one's a bit crazy, but it's a popular bet here. Xavier Worthy, most rushing and receiving yards in the game, plus 750.
Interesting. So receiving plus rushing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that I don't like. I think Saquon's got him beat.
As a combined, because Saquon doesn't get very many passing yards.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, basically, you're saying Worthy is going to have to get basically 120-ish.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like those odds for him have to be greater than plus 750.
Okay. First touchdown is going to be run by Saquon Barkley, 450, plus 450.
And that's where I think you're onto something too, that like maybe Saquon has the yardage, but not the touchdown production. I think you're spot on with that. So I would avoid that.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes plus 225 yards is negative 236 or minus 236.
Yeah, I think that's solid, man. I think he's got a lot of that offense is going to be riding with him today. I really think there's going to be very little going on with his running game. On Underdog right now, his passing yardage is around 257.
Nice.
Yeah,
And then
so yeah, he's gonna definitely have some yardage today.
I think you might like this one. Dallas Goedert, 40 plus receiving yards is minus 237.
Yeah, I've heard. I had another person at work point out that he also thinks that Dallas Goedert is going to have a really big day today. There's a sneaky rushing bet I've seen on Dallas Goedert, and I've seen them run that play a few times, but I think Kansas City is going to be ready for that one. So I'm a little concerned about that bet. But I do see the receiving production of Dallas Goedert. I do see that happening today.
And then the biggest surprise to me that I've seen, it is recorded, or there should be a record, is expected. $1.39 billion have been legally betted on the Super Bowl.
Awesome. I love it, man.
And that's up from 1.25 from last year.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I definitely had a little more fun betting last year, but I think I got a better insight on how I'm going to do this, do the bets this year. So, yeah. So I got my stuff in for today. I have my 7 picks for up to $220 if I hit 7 for 7. But I'll run down the gauntlet of what I got here made with you on these picks right off the bat. Harrison Butker, 1.5 field goals. I like that. Saquon Barkley having the longest rush of the game. I got that. Travis Kelce, 2.5 first half receptions, basically 3 first half receptions. I'm good with that. Mahomes, 2 passing touchdowns on the game. I can see that happening. Dallas Goedert, I need 1 reception in the first quarter, like that. Then we got Noah Gray, 2 receptions on the game, and Samaje Perine with a reception in the first half.
Nice.
So
solid.
I like it. So it's I got a $20 entry on that, and we'll just see how it goes.
Nice. So what's the expected win again?
If that hits, it can get like, I think it goes, if it hits, it gets you like $220. If it hits all 7, I think if you hit 6 out of 7, I think it's like $40. And then I think if it is 5 out of 7, I think I win like $5.
Oh, well, that's solid.
Yeah.
That sounds tough, actually.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I like the way Underdog does that. Because I'm bummed out that like when you hit up the casino, you can't really build like a round robin ish player prop. So yeah, so that's where I'm at there. Speaking of that player prop, here's what I got. So I did take the Saquon Barkley touchdown because it was last week. So I'm like, all right, let's go with it.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I did take the Samaje Perine 7.5, basically 8 yards receiving. Took that. I took the over on the game. The over is basically 49 points. If I hit 49 points or more, boom, you got the over. The game's being played indoors. I think when these offenses start to get in their grooves, they're gonna pretty much get going on each side. That's kind of what I'm feeling, whether it's against the Vic Fangio defense or just the way Philly's offense just runs behind that offensive line. I see that happening. I got Travis Kelce for 50 yards receiving. I have Jahan Dotson 3 yards receiving. And then, boom, my call on the game, the Eagles. I am taking Fly Eagle Fly for this Super Bowl.
That's why you're wearing green. I knew it.
There you go. A little subliminal pick advertising right there.
I mean, I didn't do it on purpose, but I am wearing red.
Oh no!
I'm going for history just because I actually heard this yesterday. I believe it was on the radio. Like, do you think this is the toughest three-peat in the history of sports?
Oh, I don't. So, what are the other nominees for that?
All right, I'm gonna pop them up because I gotta find them.
I gotta see this too.
Let's see. History of three-peats. The last time it happened. All right. So we have.
Isn't Jordan
the last three-peat? Last three-peat in the NBA was the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq.
Oh, really?
Obviously, it happened. A bunch with Jordan twice in the 90s. The last three-peat in the MLB was 98 to 2000. The Yankees beat the Padres, Braves, Mets.
Interesting.
Last three-peat in the NHL were the New York Islanders. They actually won 4 in a row in 81 or 80 to 83. And no team has ever won 3 NFL or nope. Let me rephrase that because that's not true. No team has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Correct.
Miami got 2 in a row. The Steelers got 2 in a row in the 70s. And then in the 80s, San Francisco got 2 in a row. Denver got 2 in a row. And the Patriots got 2 in a row in 2003.
And your Packers got 2 in a row.
No, we lost to Denver.
Yeah, but you won Super Bowl 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, and 2. I'm sorry. So okay, that was a part of my. You got me confused. So when I said no team has ever won 3 world championships, that's where it gets tricky because the Packers won in '65, and then they won the first 2 Super Bowls. So they did win 3 championships in a row.
Yeah.
But they're the only team ever.
Right. So yeah, it's that man, I gotta say the one I'm pretty impressed with on that list is the Islanders.
Me too.
The hockey one. Yeah, the 4 straight Stanley Cups to me is really impressive. Or was it the Islanders or the Rangers?
Islanders. Wow. Now the craziest part about that, it actually happened like 4 years prior. The Canadiens did 4 in a row, 76 to 79, and then they did 5 in a row from 56 to 60.
Jeez. Yeah, I think I might go Canadiens on that. That's even wilder.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if we want to talk WNBA, from 97 to 2000, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, and Tina Thompson with the Houston Comets, who no longer exist, by the way, won 3 titles in a row.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive too. But I know too, WNBA, the only thing against them that you got to nix, not too many teams.
And there was only 8 at the time, so
yeah. So I'm not.
And like I said, Houston doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. They might come back though. I could see something like that coming back because I think the WNBA is going to start to have that MLS grow where we're going to start to see about maybe 1 to 2 teams every year or so. I think are going to start popping up.
Now, and last but not least, in the NCAA women's, UConn won a handful in a row, and they did that twice. 2000 to 2004, and then 2013 to 2016. That is boom.
That's no debate. Yeah.
Maybe I should go with Eagles, so then the Packers will be by themselves.
Interesting.
Now I'm at a debate.
But I'll tell you this though, regardless of what does happen with the game, I am still impressed with the Chiefs. I mean, this is essentially their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. That's pretty impressive. Or actually, wait a minute. No, or is it it's 4th in like 5 or 6 years?
Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
But I mean, I definitely have a gripe about them on that first Super Bowl against Philly. I hated the way that game ended. I thought last year's game, I just thought they just balled out, stepped up on defense. I thought that was legit. So we'll see how it goes today. And then winning against Garoppolo in that first Super Bowl against the Niners, that was pretty legit there too. I mean, Garoppolo made some good throws, and he had that can of corn over the middle of the field that he had to complete to Debo that he didn't. So it is what it is, man. But the Chiefs lately are showing up game in, game out, and they play black and blue football, and they don't unveil everything they do for every single game. So seeing that with a great corner on each side of the ball is very impressive. So I definitely enjoy seeing that out of them.
Yeah. Hopefully they make some people angry.
Yeah, it is what it is. But Man, I got to go with, and that's kind of why I went with Kansas City last season against San Francisco. Is I could see the times where you bet against Kansas City, or you think that they're not the better team, and then you just see that defense dominate. And that's basically where my gut is now with the Eagles. Is I've gone against this team too many times, and you see the way that defense plays and the way that offensive line plays. I just can't really think of a team that I saw anytime recently where, whether they're on offense or defense, that their front line just dominates the ball on either side for the entire game. That's the scariest thing I've ever seen out of Philly.
Yeah, that's no debate.
That's no debate right there, man. So I think we got it. I think we're good to go. And yeah, it's only about 4 or 5 hours until Super Bowl time.
True story.
Hey, there we go, man. So I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy,
DJ Triggs.
And that's no debate.